Yes, Willie Bermingham of Alone here. I'm inquiring about the situation regarding emergency accommodation for a person who has had a fire in their accommodation. The occupant, aged 64 years, who was taken to the Mater Hospital. On contacting the Corporation Emergency Dangerous Buildings section, we were told that there was no emergency housing accommodation or anyone to contact on weekend. So the man was discharged from the hospital last evening, and I have no knowledge as to where he is now. Yeah, well, the flat is it's not possible to be occupied now until it's restored to proper condition. Like, the fire was quite extensive in the flat, and all the windows were burst out with the heat, and the furnishings were destroyed. This is a report from one of the volunteers who has gone to visit this particular person, who wasn't admitted to the house, probably on account of the history of mental illness and difficulties with no water supply in the house. I'm Willie Bermingham from Alone.
Oh, yes,
I came down to see about your housing conditions.
Yeah. Well, they're very poor.
Fairly poor.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was up, and he's coming up, Mr. Ray Toner.
Ray Toner was with you
Yes.
already. But I'm Willie Bermingham, you see, and I've called now to see you. So can I come in and have a look at them?
Pardon? Well, yes, you can.
Yeah, okay.
Myself, well, my mother must be about 49 years.
And your mother is dead now?
Oh, she is, yeah. And I worked in the Eastern Health Board for...
Oh, did you?
Yeah, for years, just porter died.
Porter.
Sick and reduced and circumstances. My father was a doctor, Claire Morris.
Claire Morris?
Yes.
Tour McCady?
Yeah, because I don't remember. I'm 67 years of age.
67.
An old man. I'm getting the retirement
Pension now, are you?
pensions.
Well, how much a week are you paying for this room?
It used to be only £2.80.
Yeah.
I went to the rent tribunal. Well, they managed to bring it down to £7.50.
Well, you'd want to be paid, really, to live here.
Oh, God.
The conditions are so bad.
Yes, and it was be cold at night. And then I was broken into there before Christmas.
Oh, were you?
Searched all around the place, but there was nothing there for them to get.
They started attacking me. My property, and it's not. You bloody, don't you tell me. And then he went off out to the car. I ran into my room, then I put the bolt on because I was so terrified of him. I ran in and put on the bolt because the way he was coming, you bitch, you this, you that, all this, all that. And then next I could hear that sword hammer going on out in the hall.
We intend to build 10 houses on the site in Artane. We are prepared to shoulder a certain responsibility. Like, we have 20 houses already in the city, most of which are occupied by people who are living in chronic conditions. Like the lady in Bagot Street that I spoke to you of, she's been offered as a priority because she's in definite danger of either serious physical injury or even death if this agent for the landlord comes back at her. Like the fact that he came along on 2 nights ago, he abused her so much, threatened he would kill her, and he chopped off the bolts and the security chain off the inside of the door.
That terrified. So the doctor said, you better get out or you'll be taken up in a box.
And the building is in absolute danger to enter because of the deterioration that's in it. It's, what would you call it, deliberate dereliction of a building by a landlord.
Oh, really?
How are you?
This is from the factory from Marware. There's a couple of quid in it. Good few quid. So.
Oh, very good. And it's just a collection from the factory.
Collection, yeah.
That's grand, and thanks very
Thank
much.
you.
And we'll send on an acknowledgement.
Okay, really.
This is donations that come into us, and they come in various ways from people who are interested in the work that we do. And they make collections. We don't necessarily appeal for funds, but when we get collections, we're rather glad to have them, that we can put them to good use. But we also handle money ourselves in various different ways, insofar as that they telephone a couple of years ago was out of order for a long period, and we had a difficulty in resolving the situation because the P&T were demanding payment for calls that were made in the period that the phone was out of order. So we paid it in an unusual fashion with a cheque which was drafted on a coffin lid and delivered it in payment for £128 and a penny. So there was a little bit of flurry in the central bank and the P&T how to process this particular cheque, which was most unusual. And they got a carpenter or someone with a handsaw to cut the top off the coffin to reduce the size of it. And that was it. It had been honoured in full.
The Willie Bermingham place will be built on a site in Kilmainham Lane, and the 22 units will be ready for occupation next year. Although quite ill, Mr Bermingham came in person to turn the first sod. He was accompanied by his wife and children and ably assisted in his ceremonial duties by his 87-year-old mother Mary. The £1.25 million complex is being funded mainly through voluntary donations, with some state backing. A loan was founded by Willie Bermingham in 1977 to expose and help remedy the dire living conditions of many neglected and lonely old people in the Dublin area. As well as actively securing safe dwellings for those in distress, a loan's main objective is to encourage direct contact from friends and neighbours on behalf of those who they describe as the forgotten old.
My whole family and myself are really elated that this day has come. Unfortunately, I may not be around for very much longer, but the work will nevertheless go on as I have laid it out and as I wish it to be carried on, and there are ample volunteers.
On this special day for Dublin, which celebrates the life of a very special Dubliner. I'm also glad that so many of his colleagues and friends from the Dublin Fire Brigade are here today. He wouldn't really want the fuss. He would be thinking about friends of his who would be going to occupy these beautiful houses. And they're very thoughtful because they cater for real need. It was what he did for the old and the lonely and the vulnerable in the city of Dublin that has left such an extraordinary legacy of love. This is a great tribute to Willie Bermingham, and I'm delighted as President of Ireland to be able to say so.
Middle years seemed so full and endless. The world grew old while I stood still in time. But even with one hand on youth, the truth I knew